So, historically with gear, with advertisement, but I think what shifted for the adventure riding segment is that it's not really a space to be a passenger. I have been a passenger on an adventure motorcycle, and I'll tell you, it's not awesome. And I know that there are people out there that make these big YouTube channels and they write books or whatever, and they're like the couple that travels the world together. And I am like, hats off to you, lady, for riding on the back like that. But again, I want my own machine, and I want to be able to do my own thing, and I'm stubborn. Maybe that's part of it. So I don't know. I know that not all you ladies are stubborn, and I know that all you men are not stubborn. Like, stubbornness is not a prerequisite to riding adventure motorcycles, that's for sure. But I am. I'm a little bit stubborn, and that will come up as I share a couple of my stories throughout the season about how I have gotten myself in and out of adventure riding pickles. Welcome to Two Track and Tarmac, a podcast dedicated to adventure motorcycle riders, the rider that frequents both the street and the trails, on a quest to answer the burning question, I wonder where that road goes. I'm your host, Cassie Maier. I operate and coach Clearmoto motorcycle rider training. I've been a professional motorcycle coach since 2019. My goal with this podcast is to bring a female's perspective to adventure riding, the motorcycle community, and the industry. With that being said, the views and opinions expressed on Two Track and Tarmac are those of the talent and guests alone and may not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of any organization. The content provided is for informational and entertainment purposes only. We will discuss motorcycle-related topics, which may include riding techniques and suggestions. Two Track and Tarmac is not responsible for any injuries, damages, or losses that you may experience when acting on your own. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for being here. Like, really, thank you. This is episode 1, season 1 of my new podcast, Two Track and Tarmac. So I am absolutely thrilled that you are here. I've been thinking about doing something like this, and here it is. Here we are. So I'm so excited. Let's dive into what this whole season is going to be about, right? So I kind of want to put themes on each of my seasons moving forward. So naturally, this season is going to be women in adventure riding, obviously. So with this episode, I want to give you a 10,000 foot view of who I am. So I have been a motorcyclist for over 20 years. I started riding when I was 17, did all pavement. I've done some really cool trips. I actually took off 3.5 months one summer. I quit my job and just rode my motorcycle every day and camped off of it. It was awesome. And it changed my life, really. And then I got bit by the adventure bug in 2018. I went and took a class out at the BMW US Rider Academy, and I cried. I'm going to be honest. I took this class, and I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing. This is super hard. I was like, I don't even know how motorcycles work. So if you are having that experience because you were a motorcyclist and now you're here doing adventure riding and you like just don't feel like you get it, I had that experience. So I'm with you. I totally get it. I did. I cried. And the funny thing about that is then after that experience, the coach actually came to me, invited me back to become a coach in training at the BMW US Rider Academy. So it was kind of a really funny turn of events where I was like, did you see me? I was horrible out there. And I think I was being way harder on myself than was probably necessary. However, that is how I got started into adventure riding. So 2018, I moved out to the Carolinas, started working as a coach in training at the BMW US Rider Academy. And I had these big GSs to me, as much as I could possibly ride every week. Like, I was obsessed. That's all I wanted to do. And I worked really hard. I ended up not staying there because I ended up meeting my husband. He did not live there. And so I moved across the country, which is where I now reside in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Now, I still continued to do training. I coached for another company. I also did some guiding for them. And then I broke off and I started Clear Moto. Throughout that span of time, I have done a lot of adventure riding. Oddly enough, I started riding adventure motorcycles on a big motorcycle. I started on a BMW R1200 GS. I now currently own an R1250 GS, and it's a big bike. I never learned on dual sports. Do I have anything against dual sports? Absolutely not. I want you to start on the motorcycle that feels right to you, feels good to you. This is just my experience. Okay, I've always been the kind of person who bites off more they can chew at the beginning because I know I'll get bored. That's just me. That's my personality. There are going to be a lot of people out there that want to start with a small thing, and then maybe you stay with the small thing. No one says that it has to be this linear projection. Like, you don't have to start with like a 250 and then all of a sudden over years of time end up with a 1200cc engine. Like, if you enjoy this size of motorcycle, then stay there. What I see a lot of times is people will go this and then they'll actually go back. So it's totally okay. Motorcycles are machines. Just figure out what works for you. However, back to kind of an exploration of who I am and why I'm here and why I'm doing this podcast. So I've had a lot of experiences, and I think that the female experience in a male dominated space, whether it's adventure riding or motorcycling as a whole, is different, right? And I think that, historically you look at advertisements, I think, is a really great one to think of, women as an accessory with their motorcycle, which is going to be kind of its own episode, by the way. So we'll put that to the side and we'll explore it a little bit more deeply. But again, just historically, looking at how women have kind of been treated around motorcycles, is either they're an accessory or they're the passenger. When it comes to the adventure riding segment, I think that shifted, and I think it's been shifting. I think that women as accessories and women as passengers has been shifting for a long time. Again, I've been doing this for 20 years. My very first suit, so gear, also another episode, my very first suit was a men's hand-me-down suit. That was 20 years ago. So it's pretty crazy that in 20 years' time, we now have women's specific gear. Again, another episode, we're going to dive into that a little bit more deeply. So, historically with gear, with advertisements, but I think what shifted for the adventure riding segment is that it's not really a space to be a passenger. I have been a passenger on an adventure motorcycle, and I'll tell you, it's not awesome. And I know that there are people out there that make these big YouTube channels and they write books or whatever, and they're the couple that travels the world together. And I am like, hats off to you, lady, for riding on the back like that. But again, I want my own machine, and I want to be able to do my own thing, and I'm stubborn. Maybe that's part of it. So I don't know. I know that not all you ladies are stubborn, and I know that all you men are not stubborn. Like, stubbornness is not a prerequisite to riding adventure motorcycles, that's for sure. But I'm a little bit stubborn, and that will come up as I share a couple of my stories throughout the season about how I have gotten myself in and out of adventure riding pickles. Okay, so what I have experienced with women in the adventure riding segment is it's still a male dominated space, right? However, I do feel like the adventure riding segment is more welcoming than like your overarching motorcycle community, right? And there's all these different segments. Like, you have cruisers, you have iron butts, you have crotch rockets, you have adventure riders. Of course, there's way more categories than that, but I'm going to keep it real simple. But in adventure riding, like, because everyone's kind of going through this like shared experience of like, oh my God, that trail was really hard, or like, wasn't that view beautiful, or like everyone's choking on dust because it was a really dusty day or whatever. Like everyone's kind of having this shared experience and helping each other get through. I just don't see as much belittling of women. It happens though. Also, another episode. So I am just setting up the season for y'all. I want to talk about that in way more depth about just the way that women experience being talked to and treated and all those things. So I'm going to express my experience and what I have seen kind of through the lens of a coach and also having attended rallies. Now, even in just the 10 years that I've been adventure riding, I have seen a really lovely increase in women on adventure motorcycles. And when I mean adventure motorcycles, I mean anything from a little dual sport all the way up to these big heavyweight adventure bikes. So really any motorcycle that you're willing to take off pavement, so gravel road, dirt roads, whatever, that's adventure riding, okay? Now, dirt biking is a little bit different. There's like a whole segment there. I'm not super focused on that because that's not my wheelhouse. Adventure riding is. So a little clarity on adventure riding is it's typically going to be like single or multi-day. It's designed so that you can travel. Travel any road in the world, pavement or dirt. That's adventure riding, so that you can just go from here to here to here to here all over on one motorcycle. It can do everything for you. When I coach and I have a class of, let's say 10, let's just make the number really easy. Most of the time, because it's a male-dominated space, I'm either going to have 10 men in my class, and I'm the only female, and I love being the coach, and that makes me so happy. Or I end up with like, oh my gosh, what is this? 8, maybe 9 men and 1 or 2 women. Occasionally I'll get 50-50 splits, and that is super cool and very exciting to me. Very rarely does it go the other way where I have more women in a class than I do men. So I prefer coaching co-ed. And one of the reasons I do that is because I believe that it's just as important to teach the men how to be around women so that women have a space in the adventure riders segment. With that being said, I also think it's super important for women to have a women's experience and a women's space in the adventure rider segment. However, co-ed definitely changes the dynamic of how people function. Whether it's men and 1 woman, that changes the dynamic, or it's all women and 1 man, that changes the dynamic. But if it's all women and it's all men, those are different dynamics as well. And there's, I think, communal health benefits for both of those, right? Or all 3 of those, really. I love co-ed. I don't have a problem with co-ed, but I also love women's only. And of course, I can't go to the men's only because that's not me. So I think it's really lovely to be able to have those spaces. What I do see, again, in the adventure riding segment is that generally speaking, everyone just wants everyone else to succeed. They want to help you through the hard stuff, because the more you get into this sport, you're going to get yourself into pickles. Like that's just kind of how it goes. Like if you've ever learned how to snowboard, let's say you were a skier as a kid and you went to snowboarding and you fell and you fell and you fell and you fell, that's adventure riding. Right? So if you went from pavement and you like never fell and you did fine, and then all of a sudden you go to dirt and you're like, I don't even know how to ride a motorcycle anymore. That's like snowboarding, right? You just fall and you fall and you fall. It's okay. It's part of it. Get the training. We'll teach you how to fall. We'll teach you how to pick it back up and get going again. So where women are being able to find those spaces in the adventure riding segment, it's kind of all over the place, but I am going to point out one specifically that I think is awesome. So She ADV is an organization that helps female adventure riders connect with one another. So they bring in coaches like myself to do I did a seminar last year, and then they'll also do these cool once a month trail sides. So there are these Zoom calls that you can join, and there'll be things listening to someone that did a really cool experience, or they're going to be about someone who wrote a book or whatever it ends up being. So trail sides are super cool. The whole organization is lovely. So check that out, SheADV. It is awesome. And then, of course, you can check your local situation and see what is available to you. If you're open to co-ed, you're going to have more opportunity. Again, the way that women fit into adventure riding is really just about how the woman wants to fit into adventure riding. So do you want to do co-ed stuff, or would you rather just do ladies only stuff? And each woman's going to be slightly different. For me, I grew up with men. That's what I know. I have 3 brothers, 0 sisters, and I've got my dad and my mom, right? So lots of dudes in my life. And my dad is actually the one that got me into motorcycling. Funny enough, my 2 older brothers learned to ride. I learned to ride. My youngest never did, but I'm the only one who still rides. And maybe it's because I never had kids. But anyway, another one would be ADV Fest. You can look at those, where those are going to be closest to you. You can kind of expand out a little bit to like Overland Expo, but those are mostly about trucks, not so much about motorcycles. But that's still kind of a nice, easy way in if you're super new to the whole off-road space. In my 20-year span as a motorcyclist, and then my almost 10-year span as an adventure rider, I have seen an increase of women in the motorcycle industry. And it's really cool because the more women that show up, you look at that group and then you see more women, and then more women show up, and then that one looks at the group and they see even more women, and it just gets better and better and better. So if you're questioning it and you're not sure if you want to go, do it. You can find a ladies group and you can go to an all women's thing if that feels better to you. Or if you're brave enough and you want to just do co-ed, go to a co-ed thing. But I would highly recommend starting with training first. And the reason I suggest starting with training, 1, because I'm a coach and of course I believe in it, but 2, because if you have the skill, you're going to have the confidence. And if you have the confidence, you're going to be able to have the bravery to then go out and go on these rides with other people, right? And if you have the skill and the knowledge and the confidence as well, you might also not feel as silly asking for help. Like, that's a hard thing to do. And I think especially for women, I know this for myself, it's hard to ask for help in a male-dominated space, right? Because you don't want to feel weak, you don't want to feel stupid because they already think that about you. Or at least we think that. So we'll dive a little bit more into that in other episodes, just about kind of like how we process things, and then maybe how men or other women even see us inside of this segment. Now, the industry has also shifted, which is great. Now, historically, you look at it and you're going to look at advertisements, and women have been accessories, women have been passengers, right? But that's begun to shift. And now you're starting to see advertisements where the woman is the motorcyclist, right? It might be a man and a woman still, but they're on their own motorcycles. So that's super cool. The other place that I see that shift in the industry is going to be in gear, right? Because obviously we need to get fitted, and we do not fit like men. If you are new to adventure riding or motorcycling in general, I would love to know how you feel about your gear options. Again, another episode, but let's just go ahead and put that in there because I'm super curious. Your thoughts on it. Because when I started over 20 years ago, my very first suit was a men's hand-me-down because I just didn't have women's gear. And then the first ladies' jacket that I ever got was pink. Ugh, let's not even get started. That's a whole other episode. So come back for that episode. But those are kind of the 2 major places that I'm really seeing shifts in the industry for the better. Again, 20 years of experience and seeing how all of that has shifted. And I'm really looking forward to where it's going to shift in the future. Now, women participating in the industry, like going to rallies, buying the stuff. Like, honestly, you have to buy the gear for the industry to even understand, like, oh, women are actually out here doing the thing, right? Because if you don't, and you don't participate in that stuff, then they won't be able to measure it. So, if you want it, you got to show up for it. One of the things that I kind of want to snuff, because again, this is just me personally, is that motorcycle manufacturers are not making motorcycles for women or making motorcycles for men. I mean, sure, maybe you'll see something out there where it's like, well, we designed this motorcycle for women in mind. I mean, maybe, but the thing is like, I like to look at it more of what is your inseam, not your overall, height, but what's your inseam? And I know some men who have some pretty short inseams. And does that mean that they have to go get a ladies motorcycle? I mean, okay, but like, why do we have to gender the motorcycle? Okay, it makes sense for gear, in my opinion, but not for motorcycles, because if that's the case, I'm riding a man's motorcycle. Now, if you like having your feet on the ground, cool. That's in a different episode. We're gonna talk all about it. So ways that you can get involved, like I said, is like you can kind of participate in these rallies. You can buy the gear that helps to signal to the industry. But ways that you can get involved for yourself is, again, I'm a little bit biased, but start with training. Like, go and get some solid training. And I don't mean like having, just someone's brother's cousin, unless they're like really good at what they do, train you. I mean, like, go get some like professional training, whether it's with someone like myself at Clear Moto, or it's back at the BMW US Rider Academy, or it's go get some good training. But make sure that whoever or whatever company you're going to for training fits you, like it matches the things that you want, right? Because each one and each person, like each coach, is going to kind of have their own style for coaching, what they're coaching. You just want to make sure it fits. I mean, shoot, we can all look back at our school careers and we can pick out the teacher that we just like despised and we had to go to for the whole year. So make sure that you find a coach that you really like, right? Look for referrals, whatever. Training is so important because I have seen it make or break people. And obviously I want to be in the make camp. I really do not want to break people. So I really want to make this sport work for people. So just do your research, find a coach that you really like, and go get some training, because that training is going to help you get more involved, right? It's going to boost that confidence. It's going to boost your skill. It's going to boost your knowledge. It also doesn't end. Like, please keep getting training. Again, I am super biased because I am a coach, right? You can get involved at your local dealership if they are an adventure forward space. And even if they're not, maybe you go in and ask them if they would be interested in maybe hosting an adventure rider thing, because then they can pull from their pool of all of their customers that they know that are also adventure riders and maybe have an adventure rider evening. You just got to find a really good dealership. A quick little recap of kind of what we discussed. I went over kind of a 10,000 foot view of who I am and a little bit about my experience, especially in the adventure riding segment, and how I kind of fit into that. I also talked about how I think women fit into the adventure riding segment, kind of how the industry is responding to women in the adventure riding segment, what that's going to look like in the future and what we can hope it is going to look like in the future, and ways to get involved in your community, whether it's a local community or it's a broader kind of an online community, going to rallies, going to your dealership. There's going to be some really great episodes coming up this season about women in the adventure riding segment, gear, mindsets, how men support women or don't support women in the industry, in the segment. So stay tuned. Regarding this episode, I am particularly interested in your thoughts about women in adventure riding. And this is open to men and women. I would love to hear from both sides. I want to learn about like what's held you back. What are some of the things that have helped move you forward? I want to hear all about it. Please, 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 please share that with me. I love hearing other people's stories and experiences. Thank you so much for listening to Two Track and Tarmac, my podcast dedicated to you, the adventure motorcycle rider. If you are enjoying this podcast, please subscribe and share it with your friends. I mean, come on, this is season 1, episode 1. Go ahead and just get ahead of the curve and subscribe and share it because there's more to come. I'm very excited to see what this season holds for Two Track and Tarmac. You can find more Two Track and Tarmac podcasts on our Clear Moto YouTube channel. If you want even more, please consider joining our Clear Moto Patreon community. That is a subscriber-based page, and it is going to help Clear Moto continue doing what I've been trying to do for years. So I really need your support. The cool thing about Patreon is that you support me, I support you, and you give and I give and you give and I give, and then you get what you want. So check out Patreon if you're interested in supporting Clear Moto even further. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.